Hey guys, welcome back to another video. As the title says, today we're going to be going through a list of my top 5 glow ups of the year and the worst glow downs of the year. I only have 5 glow ups, 4 glow downs, and then I'm going to end it with what I believe is my best plant purchase of 2023. While I was brainstorming this video, I was like, ooh, glow ups, Tordum, Glorious, SP Columbia, you know, all of the ones that like you guys see all the time. And I thought there has to be plants in my collection that I'm just completely overlooking, the ones that are just, they've been so easy that I just kind of forget how well they're doing, how like much they've grown. And so I kind of wanted to highlight those. So I feel like I have a good mix of common-ish slash ones that are not so common. I don't know, it seems like a pretty solid list to me. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of go back and forth between glow ups, glow downs, and then, like I said, I'm gonna end the video with showing you my favorite plant purchase of the year. So the first one on my list is my Hoya abovata. Which way should I scooch? This photo was from September 2022, so a little bit over a year ago now. You can see it's still like a pretty, I would say, good sized plant. At this point, I really thought like this thing is humongous, like there's no way it's gonna grow any more than this. I just remember over the year having to keep redoing the trellis, adding a second trellis to make sure that it didn't tip over. I think I upsized the pot once or twice. I can't quite remember, but there has been exponential growth on this thing over the last year and some change. So here is what the Hoya abovata looks now. Here's how the Hoya abovata looks now. Did I just say that? I don't remember the last time I would have shown you guys this plant or like done like an actual feature on it, but she is a majestic thing and you can really see how much she's grown. It's like so bushy, so full. There is like no gaps in between this thing. It's like a hedge, a Hoya abovata hedge. Wouldn't that be crazy if like hedges, instead of hedges like cedar trees, they were just like Hoyas? I'm loving this plant. It is heavy, it is massive. She is dark and splashy and just like, I can't get over it. It's kind of doing the thing where half of it is trellised and then the rest is trailing. I will say that the growth that has been trellising has been a lot more robust than the ones trailing. The ones trellis, okay. Guys, pregnancy brain. And I think that's the point. I think that's the point of a trellis. It like just encourages more growth, kind of like a philodendron on a pole. So yeah, lots more growth up here than down here. But you can see where it is starting to trail now. I have no plans of like trying to get this onto the trellis. Like I really just want that to kind of fall wherever it falls. And then this one too, which would be really cool. So let's look at this trellis situation. Right now, it is on one of Lauren's industrial strength clear trellises, but it just wasn't quite enough. So I also have, I think I have a stick in here too, unless I took it out. I remember I had a clear stake in here at one point, but I must have removed it. And now I just have the, what is this for? Oh, this is, oh, okay, yeah. So I did have a clear stick in it at one point, which I held using these Velcro tape. So now what I've done is just used Hugo's Amazing Tape, the 1/2 inch size. I attached it to the trellis and then I stuck it to this pot to hold it up, because without it, the whole thing just like leans forward. So I've had to like MacGyver a few different situations just to keep this thing upright. It has been a challenge and it just continues to grow. I feel like every time I pull this plant down and just kind of give it a good look, there's always something new happening. Like there's always a new leaf that's coming out. And honestly, there is like little to no leaf drop. I can see one yellow leaf here that I'm just gonna pluck out. But like this is not a common occurrence. Like that doesn't happen very often. I can kind of see one more down here that I think I can pluck out. And I mean, I guess in general, Hoyas don't really drop a lot of leaves, but I don't know. I assumed that because of how much growth this thing has, that there would be sort of that rotation of new leaves coming in, old leaves dying off, but this guy has been a freaking trooper. I think I say this all the time, and it's funny because every time I show it, obviously it's getting a little bit bigger. I don't know what the plan is for this because it's already on my largest trellis, and there's only so many more times I can kind of wrap it around until it's just too bushy. But there's a part of me that like really does not want to chop it. I remember when I was planning out like what I wanted to do with this plant, I started Googling heirloom Hoya, and all of the heirloom Hoyas that I've seen are literally crawling those big, you know, those big wooden trellises that you use like outdoors. I see them like tacked onto walls, and they're just climbing walls, and they're just like taking over the whole thing. I don't know if that is if I want to go that far in terms of having this turn into an heirloom Hoya one day. Hopefully Archie in the belly likes plants because I don't really have anything nice to hand down to him besides plants. But you know, if anyone wanted to inherit this Hoya one day, I do want it to be like a big majestic thing. I just don't know if I can see myself doing the whole thing where it climbs a wall. Now I have thought of surrendering to the idea of doing the wooden trellis. I hate wooden trellises. I think they look so tacky. I just don't like them. I think the only appropriate place for them aesthetically in the house is outside of the house, like in your garden. I just imagine it being for like tomatoes or something, like something for your peas to climb on or something. But I am surrendering to the idea just because I'm getting a little desperate here, and I'm thinking maybe it'll make it a little bit more bearable if it was black. So I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna grab sometime in the spring one of those trellises, we'll paint it black, get it into a much bigger pot because it is slowly outgrowing this guy, but he is freaking happy. Because it's been in this same vessel for so long, I have been trying to be good. Maybe about once a month I use the TPS, God, I always get the name of this wrong. It's not a soil enhancer, I think it's just TPS liquid soil. Yeah, TPS liquid soil. I will plug in what I'm talking about here, and it basically is just something to sort of like refresh your soil. It's supposed to flush the salts out, but obviously nothing is being flushed out because it's in no drainage, but it does have beneficial bacteria that's supposed to kind of just like clean things up in there. And I don't know, I've just noticed that it's been so happy and healthy. I don't see any kind of like root loss, and she's happy as a freaking clam. I can't complain. So anyway, yeah, of course I had to include her because this has just been a low-key, no fuss, no BS Hoya. So if you're looking for a Hoya that's going to really boost your self-esteem and your ego, this is gonna be my guy. But yeah, I wanted to start off strong in this video, and I thought that would be a perfect first one. And wow, that thing is getting heavy. Switching gears into the first glow down of the year, when I thought about a glow down, the first one that came to mind was my Philodendron Micans. So I'm gonna scooch over and kind of just show you a few photos of what it's looked like throughout the years. And if you asked me what was my pride and joy this year, I would have told you it was my Micans if it was still doing well. I've just been so proud of how far I had come with that plant, all of the things that it had been through to look the way it looked, all of the strenuous showers that I gave it, the pest treatments, the trimming. It was a lot of work to keep it looking the way it looked. And at one point it was glorious. I'm sorry. You can hate me, you can hate all my plants, but you cannot tell me that my Micans was not a beautiful, beautiful specimen. So unfortunately, it kind of went through it this year. I can't remember when it was. I want to say it was early this year. I found mealybugs. That wasn't an issue. I found one mealybug. I freaked out. I completely treated it. It was fine. It had thrips. Thrips, again, was not a huge deal. For some reason, the sprays that I had been using just kind of wiped them out. But it was the freaking spider mites that got it. The damage of the spider mites, it was so prevalent and it was so intense that I just I couldn't save it. I can't remember if there was also maybe like an underwatering situation, but I know that a lot of the leaves were curled, a lot of the leaves were damaged, and I did do a full video on it, and I can't remember which video. I'm gonna have to search, but I'll link it in the description if I can remember, where I just completely chopped it back. And it was so painful. Typically with my plants, I don't have really a huge issue with pruning because I just think that is the nature of growing plants indoor as a hobby. I don't think it's realistic to hold people to the expectation that they should never chop their plants. You should let them grow as big as humanly possible. That's just not my outlook when it comes to this hobby for me personally. But my Micans was one of those that I was just extremely protective of. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm looking at it now and I can see distractions, stop. Yeah, it was just one of those plants where I was very protective over it. I did trim it a lot, but it was strategic. It was not out of desperation to get rid of a pest or whatever. There was always a method to the madness, I guess, when it came to trimming my Micans. So having to do that huge chop, it was painful. I put on a brave face and I just told myself, you know what, we're starting over. And it could be a beautiful thing. There have been a few people who have asked me what the tea is on the Micans ever since that video went up, and honestly, it's just, I haven't shown it because there's not much to show, but I will say there has been growth, but she looks like garbage. Like, you can see a lot of new growth up at the base, not so much down at the bottom. I mean, there's some down here, but it still looks so straggly and sad. But I will say, this is very similar to what it looked like at one point when it did have thrips, just much longer. And what I did was just trim some back. I let the new ones grow in, and I just had to like go through those growing pains of seeing it really ugly and until it filled in. Mind you, it took a long time, but it's interesting because I'm seeing these stupid spots again on my leaves, but I'm not seeing any spider mites, which is so frustrating. Mind you, I really have not been great at giving this one showers, and I know that it really enjoyed its weekly showers. Just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, not a spider mite in sight, but lots and lots of spots. I'm not even seeing EFN on the back of the leaves, so I don't know. But this is what she looks like right now. It is very sad. I hate seeing her every day like this. It's almost like she got injured and she's just on the road to recovery, and there's really nothing I can do besides just wait and help her along the best I can. You know, it could be worse. There was a point when, before the new growth started coming in, that I was like, I'm just gonna throw it out. I just don't want to deal with it. Like, now you can find big baskets of Micans for, I'm not gonna say cheap, but a lot cheaper than what I would have purchased a Micans for back in the day. And I was like, is it even worth the headache? Is it worth the time? But now that I'm seeing the new growth on it, I'm like, you know what, let's give it another year and a half, see what it looks like. And I do have faith that she'll come back. She just looks really pathetic right now. But anyway, I do have it in a pot with drainage. It has leca down at the bottom, pond up at the top, and it does need some water. I try and keep the water level about right here. But you can see it's got like some nice roots. Sorry about the glare. It's got some good roots. So I think I'm working with a pretty solid foundation. I didn't chop it back like all the way because I knew that I still wanted something on the plant. I wanted to keep those auxiliary buds, and now that I see them waking up, I'm feeling a little bit better. But it's still a very sad thing to think about. While we are on the topic of Micans, that is actually one of my glow ups as well. So I'm gonna insert a photo of what this Micans looked like when I first got it. Well, not really when I first got it, but it was maybe a month after I got it, but the size is about the same. I received this as I think it was a 4-inch pot from my friends over at plantsome.ca. I remember I got the plant. I went on a trip to California for like 2 weeks. I came back to a really, really bad spider mite infestation, and this one was no exception. So it had a bunch of I came home to a pile of dead leaves on the floor. A lot of them were just completely yellow. There were a lot of spots on it. So I pruned a lot back, and yeah, that's kind of what I was left with. At that point, it wasn't, I'm not gonna say it was a tiny pot because there were a few stems in it, and I don't know, they were trailing about this much. So it was definitely trailing over the pot and maybe a little bit below, but certainly wasn't, I wouldn't consider it like a full bushy pot. So that one has just kind of been flying under the radar, honestly. I had it in my bedroom for so long. I'd give it water every so often. I really wasn't even giving it the same treatment that I gave this Micans, where I was doing like the showers and the pest prevention and the fertilization, foliar spraying, all of that stuff. I was just like, you know, you either live or you die in my bedroom. And it wasn't until maybe like 3 or 4 months ago that I realized how much it had grown. Had to move you guys back a little bit, but you might have been staring at it back there, but this is what it looks like now. Ugh. I have not given this one a haircut since, I can't even remember, the beginning of the year. I don't even know if I have given this one a haircut, but you can see like the original leaves up here. It does have the spider mite damage from earlier in the year, but it has just completely grown out since then, and these leaves are beautiful. So I do think that I'm going to start giving this one a lot more love than I have been. I know a lot of people might look at this and be like, oh my gosh, it's so long and beautiful. But to me, when I see this, I see a plant that needs to be chopped. Ugh. I thought something was on my foot. It was just the Micans. I see a plant that needs to be chopped in order to get bushier. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up with a really, really long Micans, and that's not really my goal. My goal is to activate one, growth at the base so that I don't necessarily have to chop and propagate, and two, I see opportunity like primarily because it looks pretty good like in here, but you can see how bare it is up here. Like I want a lot of these auxiliary buds to activate so that it just gets a lot more bushy, but not doing bad. She's looking really good. I'm happy that there's still one Micans in my house that looks decent, because this is a non-negotiable trailing plant for me. I know that I have gotten rid of a lot of my trailing plants. I've gotten rid of a lot of my Heteroraceum. I got rid of, what else did I get rid of? I had a Baltic Blue. I had a bunch of like pothos and things like that. But the Micans is one that I absolutely refuse to live without. I promise you there will always be a Micans in this house. So maybe she's gonna be like my new, she'll be like the protege of this one. Is that the right word? Yeah, she's doing good, and I felt like I needed to show her off because yeah, she's just been like, hey, look at me, like I'm doing so well, and I've just been like, okay, you get water, see you in a week. So yeah, I feel kind of bad, but anyway, this is what it looks like now. Now going to a glow down. I hate to have to include this one, but if I think back to what this plant looked like, particularly in 2021, and I think the beginning of this year, she doesn't look crazy sad, but she doesn't have that same allure like she used to, and that is my Philodendron Micans. So at one point, my Philodendron Glorious and my Micans, they were kind of like neck and neck in terms of sizing up their leaves at the same time. And there was a point where my Glorious was kind of like at its peak. It was growing so compact and so bushy. The leaves were huge, and they were just these puffy, delicious pastries. And then my majestic also was gaining a lot of speed, gaining a lot of traction in terms of the leaf size. And I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, these two guys are just like in competition. I can't choose who I like more. And then the majestic ran out of pole. It ran out of pole, and I sort of just, I neglected it. I think I got it, I think that maybe I got a little bit overly confident in its abilities, because I know there are people who reach a certain maturity size in their Mican or in their majestic, or really just any climbing plant. Once you get out of that super juvenile stage, and then it just kind of grows without a pole, the stem gets thicker, it kind of becomes self-supporting. And I thought, okay, the majestic is kind of at that point. The stem was probably like this thick, like she was big. And I thought, okay, I'm just gonna let her ride. I'm not gonna extend the pole. And in doing that, it just completely reverted back. I just don't have a lot of luck with my current setup in allowing plants to grow naturally that way. I think the best way to do that is if it's one near like a window or directly near a light source, which it wasn't at the time because they bleach easily, or two, have it at least have some kind of support, whether it be the Amanda way where you use string to a wall, or even like a bamboo stake, something so that it feels supported and it's not just kind of dangling in the wind. I decided to just chop it back. I did keep, I think I kept the top cutting. I can't remember if I kept the top cutting or I kept the mid cutting, because the mid cut leaves were a lot bigger than the top, but either way, I kind of started over again. And this is what she looks like now. Maybe some of you guys might be looking at this and are thinking like it doesn't even look that bad. Well, it kind of does right now, because all of the leaves are facing up, and that's because the light source where it is right above it. Am I the only one who forces them to face forward? Did you guys know you can do that? Don't cancel me, okay? I'm just bending their necks a little bit. I've done this for years where I'm like, nope, I need you to face forward. And I don't know, it kind of works until it finds the light again, and then it just like faces back up. But for video purposes, let's try and show you what the leaves actually look like. So here is the majestic now. I don't know, now that I'm showing it, it kind of feels like a dumb glow down, but she just doesn't have the same allure like she did when she was at her peak. Like the size of this leaf right now is like not even, I want to say, maybe not even like a quarter of what it was, or maybe a half. I think maybe the leaves that I had before were about half a size bigger, like double this leaf size. And it was just so puffy and beautiful. And I don't know, all of the leaves that I've been getting are just kind of like the same, even though it's been on a pole. It probably is slowly sizing up. That leaf doesn't look any bigger than what this one did as an emergent leaf. And I don't know, I think it's just kind of, I don't know what it is, you guys. I think I'm so wrapped up in what it used to be that I have a hard time appreciating it for what it is now, which sounds kind of sad. But sometimes I get to a point with some plants where I feel like they're just giving me a harder time than maybe necessary. But I think a lot of you guys might know the love that I have for the majestic, and so I've never once contemplated getting rid of it. I've never once contemplated whether the majestic was for me or not. I guess right now I'm a little bit frustrated with it, and I'm just hoping that something changes over the next year and we can get back to those big beautiful leaves. Although I don't know where it would go. Really, I don't, because right now this is sitting in my largest exo with no doors. The pole is getting close to the top, and I don't really know where it would go once it outgrows the plant room or outgrows that exo. And it doesn't necessarily need the exo. It's not like it has a hard time unfurling or whatever. It's just because of the nature of it being on a pole, I like to be able to have it in a place where I can just spray freely and not have to worry about it. So anyway, this is where we are now. Whoa, it is living in a pot. No drainage, the chews upon. The pole is a mixture of, honestly, it's like everything. Tree fern fiber, cut up moss. I see perlite, I see leca in here. It's just sort of a mishmash of everything. I even see some slow release fertilizer in here. And I did repot this one somewhat recently. No, I didn't. I extended the pole somewhat recently. I'm just hoping to see something. But the reason that I primarily have this as a glow down is because over the last year, it has not looked any better than I would say it did at the end of 2021, or yeah, the end of 2021. The end of 2022, not 2021. I don't know what year it is. And yeah, it's just, it hasn't really done much, even though I feel like I've put in more effort. So that's why it has made the glow down list. But she's still really nice. I think now in the age of, that's spider mites. I think in the age of anthurium, I think we're all kind of living in this age of anthurium where anthurium is all the hype. It's all everyone talks about. A lot of plants like this kind of lose its luster. I don't know. A lot of philodendron are being overlooked, but I certainly still love this plant as much as I did when I first acquired it. I'm just in a weird, we're in a weird rough patch right now, but hopefully I do have goals and big dreams for this one in 2024. So at least we have a good baseline to start with. All right, switching up, going back to a glow up. The next one I'm going to talk about is my I almost said Philodendron elbow, is my Monstera albo. So I don't know if I have a photo of what this looked like, honestly, in the beginning of the year or last year, because I grew this from a prop and it sort of went under the radar because I wasn't sure if I was gonna keep it or not. As a reminder, I had been propagating a bunch of albos for my friend Pearl, who had this gorgeous, amazing mother plant. And I just decided to keep one of the props one day because she told me that I should keep it. And it wasn't even like the best one. Like, she's produced half moons and like these crazy marbled leaves, but I like always made sure that those went back to her. So this one was just really like a one-off. I was like, whatever, I'll just keep this one because it's growing really well. And oh my gosh, it really freaking glowed up this year. Like, who told her that she could be this Gorgina? I'm still kind of in disbelief that it looks the way it does, because if you look at the bottom leaves, so this is one of the oldest leaves on the plant. It's nothing that's like super insanely crazy in terms of an albo. Like, this kind of just looks like your typical albo leaf. But as it's grown, it's done this really cool thing where it's almost like a half moon every leaf, but not quite, which I'm fine with because you have a better chance of keeping the white with more green. But like, what? I feel like I hit the albo jackpot with this plant. Now I'm hoping that it doesn't go too white because I can see this stem and, oh, sorry. You can kind of see like how much green it has down at the bottom, or maybe you can see better on this side. Lots of green down at the bottom, and that's really what I like to see in an albo stem in terms of stability with variegation. But if you kind of look towards the top, it's getting real white. So yes, there's a part of me that's nervous because if you look at the progression of the white in the half moon, it's getting more and more dominant. So like the top two leaves are like full half moon. This one's even more, it's like 3/4 moon. I am hoping that we can keep some green, but you cannot deny how pretty she looks. And I'm sad. I thought I fixed the issue with the white balance, not the white balance, the exposure thing, but it seems I have not. So yeah, I'm gonna keep her right there because she's like actually really heavy. Which angle should I give you? This one? This one? Go like that. Yeah, she's a pretty little thing. She's growing in no drainage with soil, just the regular aeroid mix. The pole that it's in is tree fern fiber and perlite, moss, kind of the typical one that I've been using. It is fully rooted into the pole now. and she is doing amazing. I can see that there are a good amount of roots in the pot, but I think that she can live in here for quite a long time because I'm gonna rely a lot on the pole to act as an extension of the pot. I really don't want to fuss with this if possible. She is gonna need a pole extension soon. Also, I am quite heavily using silica on this plant. Granted, I'm using it at like a quarter strength, but using it almost every watering because I just don't want this white to turn brown. I was growing it at first in my tent when it was a propagation, moved it into my largest exo with no doors, and then once all the plants in there started growing, I moved it over here onto the shelf, but I noticed that when it was up on the shelf, wasn't getting a lot of growth. So then I moved it to that little area here where I used to have that cart looking thing, and now it's just fully living in my south facing windowsill, and I think it really likes it. I'm very, very happy with how this albo has been turning out this year. I just hope I can continue that and hopefully get some leaf size growth on it, because all of the leaves have kind of been relatively small-ish. I'd love to see some secondary fenestrations, and I just want some nice big leaves. That would be amazing. Although again, I don't know where it would go. My main albo, my large form albo, is getting freaking huge. My Thai constellation is huge, so maybe it's not a bad thing that this one is sizing up so slowly. But yeah, when I just see those really, really big, beautiful Monstera leaves, I'm like, that's what I want. That is what I want. And honestly, if I had to decide between keeping the Thai con or the Monstera albo, it's probably gonna be the albo, except I do have that worry about it going fully white or going fully green. I don't know. There's always that like bit of uncertainty with variegated plants, which is why I don't have a ton of variegated plants in my collection, because I don't like the anxiety of that on top of the anxiety of just keeping it alive. But with the way she is growing, I think she's worth it. I am getting a bit nauseous. Actually, I've been nauseous since before I started filming, but it's getting worse. But I think we're gonna be done almost soon. The next glow down is gonna be one that might surprise you guys, but it's gonna be my Alocasia frydek. I'm gonna insert a couple photos from, I think all of these photos are from this year, early this year, and I just feel like at one point she was like the token frydek. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this pop up on Pinterest, Google searches, random website, like shop plant websites, random plant websites using it as like a, I don't know, example photo of what a mature plant could look like. And she just looked so good. All of the leaves were kind of facing forward. It was growing really compact. The petioles were really long and gangly. The variegation was perfect. It was like that perfect mix of leaves that had not a ton of variegation, but had enough marbling to be like a stunner on its own, and then ones that were more highly variegated that really like balanced out the whole thing. Yeah, at one point I was just like, wow, this is turning into the frydek of my dreams. The two issues that I can remember having with this plant over the last year is one, spider mites. On top of the damage that spider mites has on the plant itself, like the leaves itself cosmetically, it does also, in my opinion, stunt the growth. And so a lot of the leaves were just a lot smaller, a lot more sickly looking, I guess. The spider mites would attack it as a emergent leaf, and so by the time it came out, it just looked really sickly and gross. So that was one issue. The second issue that I had was it going fully white. And in the time that I had all white leaves, it kind of seems like the whole plant was just not doing well. It was taking a beating. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like. The issue that I seem to be having is potentially a light thing. I am using silica on this to kind of keep more of the white, but I am getting a lot of these brown leaves. But this is what the rest of the plant looks like. You can't lie, compared to the photos I just showed you, like this looks crazy. I'm not really loving the growth pattern of it. Like I really wish all the leaves were kind of facing the same way that they used to. Like these leaves are cute. I really actually enjoy the sort of like greener, green on green frydek look, but when it was doing a good mix of the white leaves plus the green leaves, it was just way better. And I don't know, I look at this plant and I'm like, you just look like a hot mess. Like you look crazy. To my knowledge, it no longer has spider mites. Like I feel like I got most of the spider mite thing under control, although who freaking knows. I don't see any spider mites or spider mite damage on any of the new leaves, but you can see it still on this one older leaf. Sorry, it's so heavy. There's so much pollen in here. Maybe you can see it like up in the corner. It's like all yellowy and gross, and the leaf is all like mangled. Like it didn't fully form nice and like flat like this. It kind of has a little bit of like a I don't know, curl to it. It's hard to explain. It's not like the worst frydek you've ever seen. It certainly looks a lot better than it did even like a month or two ago, and I'm glad that it has been pushing out growth now that looks fairly normal. Ones that have variegation on it again. It's not a lot, but it's something. It was like full white before, and they were just dying off like crazy. But yeah, kind of dealing with this issue now, and a part of me thinks that it's a light thing. I think the lights in my plant room need to be a bit stronger. I just don't know how to achieve that without a light being right in the middle of the room, or I don't know, guys. I can't wrap my mind around it right now because just with everything going on, it's not really taken a priority. But yeah, I wanted to hesitatingly categorize this as a glow down because I thought the direction that I was going before, like we were on a good path to just big, majestic, beautiful leaves. I'm gonna show you a photo of kind of what I thought I would achieve this year and really didn't. Setbacks are slightly out of my control. The setbacks that I had this year were slightly out of my control, but I just feel like if we can keep this going, I can keep the spider mites away and we can keep the variegation on this plant, I think I should be able to achieve that next year. But right now she looks like a hot mess. I know in the beginning of this video I said I wasn't going to include the ones that I keep blabbing on and on and on about, and I did make a conscious effort to not include my tortum in this video for your sanity, but I had to include this one because I can't not. It feels like a crime to not include this because it's done so well, and that is my, I don't know what the heck we're calling this. I'm confused. Philodendron El Guapo, Philodendron SP Columbia, Philodendron Silver. The reason I'm confused is because I do see the one form of El Guapo, this guy, being tagged as El Guapo, but the tight veined one that I am referring to, is that also an El Guapo? I still see a lot of people calling it the SP Silver. Not sure how correct that is, but just for the sake of continuity in my other videos, we're just gonna call it the El Guapo. So my Philodendron El Guapo has just done phenomenally this year. I feel like this plant has always kind of been very good to me and has always been such a good grower. The one thing that I remember struggling with this plant a lot with this plant was it kept going back and forth between whether it wanted to climb or crawl, and I didn't know what to do with it. At one point I had it just in a regular like clear vessel, and then I put it in a crawling pot, and then it went back in a clear vessel because it was climbing, and I was like, I don't know what you want from me, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. But yeah, it has grown pretty steadily over the last year. Not a massive jump in leaf size, I will say. I mean, there has been a slow progression, but it's not anything that is like absolutely mind-blowing. I think it's pretty on track with what you would expect an indoor plant to look like, just kind of given regular conditions, not a super strong grow light, but it's been good to me. So here's what it looks like now. Hopefully I can fit her in the frame because she's big and the exposure is gonna go crazy. This is what she looks like now, and she is large and in charge. She's got a lot of EFN. I feel like she didn't have as much EFN when she was smaller, and now that she's like a big adult girl, she's pushing so much of it. This is the vessel situation. So you can see at one point it was really crawling. Like she was a full-on crawler, and now she's just kind of decided to climb. I don't know if it's because it kind of ran out of pot, but it started to climb even before it ran out of pot. So I don't know. I feel like I'm just gonna kind of let her do whatever she wants. I am filming a week of this week as well, and I'm planning to repot her. I'm gonna put her again in a crawling pot and just see what it does. I will always have such a soft spot. Sorry, now you're too far. I will always have such a soft spot for these pillowy guys. It was definitely like my first love coming into the imported aroid hobby, and I don't think that's ever gonna go away. Like, seeing leaves like this just make me so happy. And honestly, if it never even got any bigger than what these leaves look like now, I wouldn't even be mad, because again, trying to keep realistic standards and expectations of growing aroids inside, this is fine. This is perfect for me because it's living right here on this shelf. And honestly, if the leaves got any bigger than this, I feel like it would kind of like overtake the whole top area. But there's a part of me where it's like, if I did get leaves bigger than this, I probably would be in absolute awe. So I don't really know. I'm just happy to see growth. I'm happy to see leaves that just look so happy and are growing so well. And yeah, I just can't get over the sheen of this plant. I can't get over like just, I really don't have any other words for this plant besides it's just the most pillowy, delicious thing I've ever seen. I love this plant. I would definitely consider it one of my pride and joys this year. She's just made me feel like such a good plant parent. She's certainly like boosted my ego in times where I needed it the most, and I think it's just great to have plants like this in your collection where you can almost rely on them to be there for you. Again, we're not going to talk about the EFN. That is like the least of my worries right now. The little cosmetic damage that I get from the EFN, don't even care about it. I'm just so grateful to have this at all. So I hope she does well in the repot. She's definitely overdue because this is just, yeah, this is just not working out anymore, and you can see she's kind of like starting to lean now. I'm hoping that as the stem gets thicker, maybe the leaves get bigger, it starts to fall to the ground more, because I don't really know if I can fit another climbing plant, climbing leafy philodendron out here with all the other ones that I already have to fit. But anyway, I'm sorry if some of you guys are like, yeah, we get it. We knew it was gonna be in this video, but I just had to. This is gonna be the last glow down of this video, and that is going to be my other Philodendron El Guapo, Philodendron SP Columbia. So this is the first and original one that I had ever owned before I knew that there was a tight veined one. I would say that at one point, this plant specifically was as large as that one. And I think the last time I would have featured it in sort of all of its glory is my easiest philodendrons video. And it's so funny that so many of the plants, to my recollection in that video, aren't really doing that well anymore. But again, a lot of them were for circumstances that I just couldn't avoid, like a full spider mite outbreak or whatever it may be. But I do take accountability for a lot of it. But anyway, yeah, this plant at one point was just so big and leafy, just like the other one. Definitely had a different allure than that one. I would say that one is more like cutesy and adorable, whereas this one was kind of more badass and like sinister in a way. And I loved it. It was, I couldn't get enough of seeing those huge leaves, how like glossy and bright and silver those new emergent leaves were. This one is definitely way more silvery than that one. That one tends to be more on the green side, whereas this one really kind of lived up to its name at one point where it was SP Silver. But anyway, yeah, this is what the plant looked like when it was doing really well. And I thought I was making good progress. I thought like by the time we'd be where we are now, like I'd have no space to fit it anywhere. But it has been the actual opposite, because this is her. This is what she looks like now. I do remember this plant being heavily attacked by spider mites. I didn't want to look at the leaves anymore because they were making me very sad. And also, I think this one did start to also revert in size because it ran out of pole. To my recollection, this one really never wanted to crawl for me. It was always climbing upward. Because I was getting overwhelmed with the sheer size of it, how many leaves it had, it was so hard to treat for spider mites, I just chopped it back completely. She just kind of never fully recovered or bounced back from that, despite being fully rooted, kind of growing in the same conditions that I had given it before, no drainage, growing in the plant room. She's just kind of holding on for dear life. So right now, the plant is spider mite free, but it's very bleached from the grow lights. Right now it's under a 10 watt bar plus a 24 watt bar, and I didn't even realize how bleached it got. So the one thing that I struggled with this plant specifically is that balance of light and growth. Because it gets very bleached under high light, putting it under darker light seems like the most logical thing to do. But under lower light, I have noticed that the growth is just teeny tiny. And that's why I put it under brighter light, because I was like, I'm not noticing any leaf size growth. All of the older leaves keep dying off, and it's been just kind of a one leaf plant for a really long time. So I don't really know what the plan is with this. I do still love this form of SP Columbia a lot. I'm not sure I love it as much as the other guy, but I'm not quite ready to give up on it just yet. But it is a pretty stark difference to see where it was before versus where it is now. I don't love it. I don't love that we are here, but that's just reality. So maybe in the spring, I'll give this one a little bit more love. It definitely needs an up pot, and I don't know why. For what? For this? For one leaf, you need a bigger pot? I'm kind of over it, but not fully over it. And then the last one for the glow up is one that I actually have to take you somewhere for. So let's go on a little field trip. The lighting is not gonna be as good here, but the next one on my glow up list is my Dracaena marginata. So I'm gonna show you a picture. Oh, sorry, ow. I'm gonna show you a picture right here of what it looked like in the beginning of this year. I had chopped it back completely because of spider mites, and I just wanted to start over. So I chopped it, I notched it, and it worked. So there's way more growth points on it now than it had originally. The original plant, when I acquired it, it had 3 main little bushy growth points. Now it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little growth areas, plus 1 on the way on this one. So she looks really nice and bushy now. I'm not sure if you can kind of tell. Whoa, sorry, I don't know a better way to show this to you, but yeah, like she looks good. She's like really looking like a proper Dracaena now. The only thing I will say is that this plant is a spider mite magnet. Unfortunately, it has spider mites right now, and I don't know why I'm letting it touch my face when I know that it has spider mites. And you can kind of see, I'll pull this one off, like this one kind of is yellowing at a rapid pace, and this is exactly what happened last time when I had spider mites. The only thing is it is in the world's heaviest pot, and it was kind of on my to-do list next year to get it into a lighter pot, even though I like the pot it's in, but it's so hard for me to drag this to the shower to treat it. Like I really don't know how else to treat this without getting alcohol spray all over the place. So kind of a mystery on how I'm gonna be treating this thing, because I really don't want to see any more rapid leaf loss than I have seen in the last month. but I feel less bad because a lot of people that have come to this channel or come to Instagram and have talked about their experience with the Dracaena marginata, it's that theirs also was a spider mite magnet. So I know it's not just me, but it is a kind of a pain in the butt. But I love this plant so much and I'm not willing to sacrifice it. I'm not willing to give up on it. I want to try and find a way to make it work, especially now seeing how much it's grown in just a short, what I consider a short amount of time. And yeah, that's where we are now. So that is it for the glow ups and glow downs. And now I'm finally just gonna tell you what my favorite / best plant purchase of the year has been. And hands down, it is the yucca that I acquired. I got this from someone in our local plant group, and I got it for a freaking steal of a deal. I think I got it for like 40 bucks, and getting it home was no easy task. I do have a video on it. It's one of my favorite videos that I've ever posted. It didn't get much love on it, but I had so much fun filming it. I had so much fun editing it. And when I look back at some of the videos that I've made in the past, like this one definitely has to be in like my top 3 favorites. So I will link that in the description if you want to watch it. But here's what the plant looked like when I first got it. It was in this big tub, like a literal tub. I think my grandparents used to like let us go swimming in this kind of tub before when you're little. But yeah, literal big plastic tub. It was just like in straight soil, growing totally fine in just soil. It had all of the little sheaths of the old leaves still on the trunk. And as soon as I saw this photo, I was like, I cannot wait to peel back those sheaths because I know there is something beautiful under there. Took it home, gave it some much needed TLC, and she immediately like glowed up. She immediately looked so beautiful. And I just can't even tell you how much I have loved seeing this thing thrive and grow in my house. So here's what it looks like now. Hopefully I've included enough footage. I wanted to take the footage on a sunny day to kind of show you like, I don't know, it's peak beauty during the day, not on an overcast day like this. But I love seeing this plant in my house. I love it. This is a plant that I can see me taking to wherever I move to. I can see me growing into my old age if it will allow me to. I love it. I love it so much. It reminds me of home. It reminds me of California. It reminds me of a summer day, and it just makes this apartment feel like a home. I feel like I've experimented over the years with the perfect large plant for my home. At first I thought it would be a fiddle leaf fig. Then I thought it would be this big Euphorbia Trigona lactea that I have in my house. I thought maybe a big rubber tree, huge Monstera. I've always felt like every home needs like that one big staple plant. Not talking about, you know, a philodendron or a Hoya or Alocasia, none of that. Like a tree-like plant. To me, that's what makes the perfect touch for a home. And it wasn't until this yucca came into my life that I knew that this was the one that I had been searching for years. And I'm just so great. Every time I see it, I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to buy it and snag it up. It's grown so much. It hasn't dropped a single leaf since being repotted. And if you guys watched that repot, you will know it was like a horror movie. When I literally sawed off like the roots because it was so compacted into the soil. I couldn't untangle the root ball. So I literally had to hack it off. And I was fully expecting the plant to take a beating or, I don't know, undergo some kind of stress. There was also one piece of it that broke off in the car, and I just stuck it. I put some rooting hormone on it. I stuck it in the soil completely rootless. It rooted for me, and now it's growing like crazy. And so it's just been a dream since coming home, and it's been so easy for me, and she's just great. So I hands down have to say this is like my favorite plant purchase of this year. I think that if I wasn't able to snag this plant, like if someone snagged it before me, it would have been one of those things that I thought about for a long time and like would not have let go of it. But I feel like we were meant to find each other and be with one another. So yeah, I just love that plant so much. So anyway, I don't know if you guys have been able to hear Pudge's snoring in the background, but it's time for me to go. That's all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this little video I put together for you. Maybe it might make you think about plants in your collection that have grown up this year that maybe you haven't really given much attention to, and maybe you should give attention to. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys for watching another Saturday upload. I think this is gonna go up on a Saturday. Thank you to everyone who has left such amazing, sweet comments on our pregnancy announcement video on both this page and my vlog channel. It has been overwhelming. I've had such a hard time replying to everyone's comments, but just know that I've read all of them, and me and my husband, we've read all of them, and it's just, you guys are just so sweet. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.